It's just after 6 in the morning on the 16th of May, 2008. In a middle-class apartment block in Noida, on the edge of Delhi, a housemaid arrives for work and finds she can't get through the front gate. Inside, a mother is awake. In a few minutes, the two women will walk into a child's bedroom and find something that will start one of the most examined, most argued over criminal cases in India's history. A 13-year-old girl is dead in her bed. Her throat has been cut. Her name is Aarushi Talwar. In 8 days, she would have turned 14. At first, everyone thinks they know exactly what happened. A man is missing from the flat, the family's live-in domestic worker. The story writes itself in an afternoon. The servant killed the girl and ran. That story survives for about a day. Then they open the door to the roof. Over the next 9 years, the local police, India's top investigative agency, 2 separate detective teams, a trial court, and a high court will each take a turn at this case. They will produce 2 different prime suspects, a conviction, and finally an acquittal. And after all of it, the official answer to who killed Aarushi Talwar and Hemraj Banjade will be unknown. What you're about to see is a reconstruction, built from court records and reporting. The figures are stand-ins, and some scenes are dramatized to show events that were never filmed. Nothing here is a statement of guilt against anyone. Here is how it unfolded. The address is L32, in a housing colony in Sector 25, Noida. A comfortable apartment in a comfortable neighborhood. The family are the Talwars. Rajesh and Nupur are both dentists. He runs a dental department and teaches. She practices at a shared clinic. They are educated, established, and completely unremarkable to anyone looking in from outside. Their only child is Aarushi, bright, 13, close to her parents. The 4th person in the flat is Hemraj Banjade, sometimes recorded as Yam Prasad Banjade. He's 45, from Nepal, and works as the household help. He cooks, cleans, and sleeps in a small room inside the same apartment. He has been with the family long enough to be trusted with the house. On the evening of the 15th of May, the family is home. Investigators would later reconstruct small, ordinary details of that night. The internet router in the flat logs its last activity at 8 minutes past midnight. An email account tied to the household is open late in the evening. Then the digital record goes quiet. Sometime in the window between roughly midnight and 1 in the morning, according to the post-mortems, both Aarushi and Hemraj are killed. That window, those 60 minutes inside a locked flat, is the whole case. Everything before it is on the record. Everything after it is on the record. What happened during it has never been established beyond doubt. Morning, the 16th of May. The Talwar's maid arrives, Bharati Mandal, there for her usual shift. She rings the bell. Nupur Talwar opens the innermost wooden door, but tells her the middle metal grille is locked. The outer gate won't open either. Nupur's explanation, according to Bharati's later account, is that Hemraj must have gone out to fetch milk and locked the gate from outside. Bharati doesn't wait. She asks for the keys and they're passed down to her. She lets herself in. Inside, another detail that would be argued over for years. Rajesh Talwar notices an empty bottle of Ballantine Scotch whiskey where it shouldn't be and asks Nupur to check on Aarushi. Arushi's bedroom door is usually locked from the inside. This morning it isn't. She is on her bed. Her throat has been slit and there is an injury to her head. She has been dead for hours. And Hemraj is gone. To the first police who arrive, that single fact seems to solve everything. The servant is missing. The servant must have done it. The hunt begins immediately for a man who, they assume, has murdered a child and fled the city. But while that manhunt spins up, something quieter and more damaging is happening inside the flat. Relatives arrive, neighbors crowd in, police move through the rooms. Nobody locks the place down. In a case that will eventually be decided almost entirely on physical evidence, the physical evidence is being walked over, touched, and disturbed within hours of the body being found. And there is one door still closed, the one to the terrace, the 17th of May, a full day after Aarushi is found. The building's terrace has a locked door, and in the rush of the first day, with everyone certain the killer has already run, nobody forces it open. Then a retired police officer visits the scene. His name is K.K. Gautam, a former deputy superintendent asked to have a look. He notices something on the terrace door. Bloodstains on the handle. The lock is broken open. The local station officer forces it, and they go up. Hemraj is there. He has been the entire time. The man every officer in the city has spent a day chasing, as the prime suspect is lying dead on the roof of his own workplace. His throat, like Aarushi's, has been cut. In the May heat, his body is already in an advanced state of decomposition. He is found at around 10:30 in the morning in a pool of blood. In one moment, the entire case flips. The absconding servant isn't the killer, he's the second victim. And now the story has to account for something much harder. On the night of the murders, 4 people were inside a locked flat. 2 of them were killed. If it was an outsider, that outsider entered a locked home, killed 2 people, moved a grown man's body up to the terrace, locked the terrace door behind him, and left. Without any clear forced entry, and without the 2 survivors in the flat, by their own account, hearing a thing. If it wasn't an outsider, the answer lives inside that family. The investigation never proves either version beyond doubt. That is the whole tragedy of what comes next. Before the case can be investigated properly, it becomes a national spectacle. This is 2008. India's news channels are locked in a ratings war, and a photogenic double murder inside an educated urban family is exactly the kind of story that runs all day, every day. Camera crews park outside the building. Rumors air as breaking news. Details that should never leave an investigation are broadcast to millions. Then the police make it worse. Within days, a senior officer holds a press conference and offers the public a motive built on almost nothing. The theory suggests the killings grew out of something the family was hiding: an alleged relationship and a father acting to protect the family's honor. There is no proof. It is speculation about the private lives of a dead child, a dead man, and grieving parents, delivered from behind a police podium before the forensic work is even complete. The theory smears private individuals with no evidence behind it. It provokes exactly the outrage you'd expect, and the officer who pushed it is transferred soon after. But the damage is done. Before a single fact is established in court, the public has already been handed a lurid story and told it's the truth. Underneath the noise, the real evidence is collapsing. The scene was never sealed. The terrace, with a body on it, went unexamined for a day. Surfaces were handled and cleaned. The blood-stained whiskey bottle on the dining table, later found to carry the blood of both victims, yields no usable fingerprints. Under mounting public pressure, the state hands the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation, India's premier agency. But the CBI inherits a scene that has already been compromised past saving. You can't uncontaminate a crime scene. Everything that follows will be built on a foundation that was broken in the first 48 hours. The CBI doesn't investigate this case once. It effectively investigates it twice, with 2 teams pointing in 2 opposite directions. The first team takes over in June 2008, led by a senior CBI officer, and this team looks away from the parents entirely. It focuses on 3 men connected to the household, a clinic assistant named Krishna Thadarai, and 2 domestic workers, Rajkumar and Vijay Mandal. Over the following weeks, all 3 are subjected to polygraph and narco-analysis tests, and then arrested one after another through June and July. It's worth saying clearly, narco-analysis, where a suspect is drugged and questioned, produces results that Indian courts do not accept as evidence. Based partly on those interrogations, the first team's working theory is that these men killed Aarushi after an assault. A Nepali knife, a kukri, is recovered during a search connected to one of them. Forensic testing can't establish human blood on it. And then the whole theory dissolves. By September 2008, all 3 men are released. The investigators simply do not have the hard evidence to hold them. So the first CBI team ends where it began, with a compromised scene, a discredited public theory, 3 released suspects, and no case. Then the case is handed to a second CBI team, and the direction reverses completely. This team turns back toward the flat and toward the parents. Its reasoning is circumstantial. The home was locked. There was no clear sign of a break-in. The 2 adults were present. From that, the team builds a theory that the answer was always inside the apartment. In late 2010, this team files what's called a closure report. And this is where the case becomes genuinely strange. The closure report doesn't ask to charge anyone, it asks to shut the case down. The CBI writes that the evidence isn't strong enough to prosecute. It names Aarushi Talwar as the only suspect, and in the same breath says it can't charge him because there are critical gaps in the evidence. It's an extraordinary document, an agency saying, in effect, we suspect this man, but we cannot prove it, so please let us close the file. The court refuses to close it. Instead, the magistrate reads the report's own contents as enough to move forward, and summons not one parent, but both, to stand trial for the murders of their daughter and their employee. So the Talwars go on trial not because a confident prosecution built a case against them, but because the report that was meant to end the investigation was turned into the reason to prosecute. The trial runs at a special CBI court in Ghaziabad before Judge Shyam Lal. The prosecution's case is entirely circumstantial. There is no confession, no eyewitness, no weapon conclusively tied to the accused. The case is a chain of inferences, and each link is fought over. The weapon becomes a battleground. The prosecution argues one of the injuries matches a golf club, claiming Rajesh took a club from Hemraj's room. The defense produces a forensic expert who tells the court the fracture on Aarushi couldn't have been caused that way. A second theory holds that a sharp, precise instrument, the kind a trained dental surgeon would know how to use, made the throat wounds. That too is contested. The prosecution leans on the digital record, the router in the flat that switched off in the early hours on a night when the electricity department confirmed there was no power cut. To the prosecution, it's a sign of someone awake and active in the flat. To the defense, it's a router doing what routers do. The defense hammers the foundation itself, the contaminated scene, the missing forensics, the two CBI teams with two opposite conclusions. An investigation that changed both its suspect and its story. In late November 2013, the court convicts. Both Rajesh and Nupur Talwar are found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment, under the Penal Code's sections for murder and for destruction of evidence. The judgment is harsh in its language, but it is built, from top to bottom, on what the court decides is the most likely story, not on direct proof. The Talwars go to prison. To much of the public, exhausted by 5 years of headlines, the case finally feels closed. The parents did it. That's the end of it. Except a conviction built entirely on inference can be tested by a higher court. And the defense appeals. The appeal reaches the Allahabad High Court, where two judges go back through the entire case, not the emotion of it, the evidence of it. And the evidence doesn't hold. On the 12th of October, 2017, the Allahabad High Court acquits Rajesh and Nupur Talwar of both murders. The court's reasoning is exact. The parents, it says, cannot be convicted on suspicion. It points to the loopholes in the CBI's investigation. It rules that the prosecution failed to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Then the judges go into the physical evidence, and it's here the case truly comes apart. If both victims had been killed together in Aarushi's room, as the prosecution claimed, that room should have carried traces of Hemraj's blood. The forensic record didn't show it. And the post-mortem findings did not support the motive the prosecution had leaned on. After roughly 4 years in prison, the Talwars walk free, cleared of a crime the High Court says was never actually proven against them. But this case doesn't even end there. The acquittal is challenged. The CBI appeals it, and so does Hemraj's widow, and the Supreme Court agrees to hear the case. The final legal word, at the highest level, has been left hanging. The story reached far beyond the courtroom. It became the subject of a widely read 2015 book and a 2015 feature film, each wrestling with the same impossible question. And that question is exactly where the morning of the 16th of May, 2008 left it. 2 people were murdered inside a locked home. One investigation blamed outsiders and let them go. Another blamed the parents. A trial court convicted. A high court acquitted, and the highest court's review has hung over it since. Officially, the Aarushi Hemraj case is unsolved. No one stands convicted. A 13-year-old girl and a 45-year-old man were killed a few feet apart. and the truth of what happened in that 1 hour never left the apartment. Some cases end with an answer. This one ends the way it began, with a locked door, a scene that was ruined before it could speak, and a question the country has never been able to close.